I moved into apartment 7B on a Tuesday afternoon, when the hallway still smelled like fresh paint and regret. I didn't know her name yet. I didn't know anything except that she lived in 7A, right across from me, and that she had the kind of silence around her that made you want to listen harder. The first time I saw her, she was standing in the doorway with a cup of tea, watching me struggle with a bookshelf that wouldn't fit through my door. She didn't offer to help. She just looked at me with these dark, tired eyes and said, "You'll figure it out. They always do." Then she disappeared inside. I stood there for a moment, sweating, confused, wondering what the hell that meant. My name is Ethan. I'm 32. I moved to this city after my divorce finalized, after the lawyers stopped calling, after my ex-wife took the house and I took the silence. I needed something new, something clean, somewhere I could disappear for a while. The apartment was small but quiet, the kind of quiet that makes you hear your own breathing at night. For the first week, I barely saw her, but I heard her. Late at night, I'd hear footsteps on the other side of the wall, slow, deliberate, like someone pacing. Sometimes I'd hear music, old jazz, the kind that sounds like loneliness turned into melody. Sometimes I'd hear nothing at all, and that was worse. I started noticing small things. She never had visitors. Her mail piled up by the door until she'd collect it all at once, usually around midnight. She dressed in layers, even in summer, long sleeves, scarves, sunglasses indoors. She moved through the hallway like someone trying to not be seen. I wanted to ask if she was okay, but something about her made me feel like that question would break something. Her name was Vera. I learned that from the landlord when I asked about the water pressure. He mentioned her in passing, said she'd been living there for 3 years, kept to herself, always paid rent early. Good tenant, he said. Quiet. Too quiet, maybe. I didn't know what he meant until later. The first real conversation happened on a Saturday morning. I was leaving for a run when I saw her sitting on the stairs outside, a cigarette between her fingers, staring at nothing. She wasn't smoking it, just holding it, watching it burn. "Morning," I said, not expecting a response. She looked up at me slowly, like she'd forgotten other people existed. "You run every morning," she said, not a question, an observation. "Yeah, helps me think." She nodded, took a long drag from the cigarette, and exhaled slowly. "What do you think about?" I wasn't expecting that. I sat down on the step below her, catching my breath. "I don't know, nothing mostly. That's kind of the point." She smiled, just barely. "That's the only time thinking is useful, when you're not trying." We sat there for a while, not talking, just existing in the same space. Then she stubbed out the cigarette and stood up. "I'm Vera. Ethan." She looked at me for a long moment, like she was deciding something. Then she walked back inside without another word. After that, we started talking more, not planned, just moments. I'd see her in the hallway and we'd exchange a few sentences. She'd mention a book she was reading. I'd tell her about the coffee shop down the street. Small things, safe things. But there was something underneath it all, a tension I couldn't name. She had this way of looking at people, like she was reading between the lines of everything you said, like she was waiting for you to disappoint her. And maybe I was doing the same thing. One night, around 2 a.m., I heard a crash from her apartment, then silence. I stood at my door, listening, debating whether to knock. I knocked. She opened the door slowly, and I saw the broken mug on the floor behind her, coffee pooling on the hardwood. "I'm fine," she said before I could ask. But she wasn't. Her hands were shaking. "Let me help you clean it up." "You don't have to." "I know." She stepped aside, let me in. Her apartment was nothing like I expected. Books everywhere, stacked on shelves, on the floor, on the windowsill. Art prints on the walls, dark, beautiful, melancholy. A record player in the corner with a stack of vinyl beside it. I grabbed some paper towels from her kitchen and started cleaning up the coffee. She sat on the couch, watching me. "You're different," she said quietly. I looked up at her. Different how? Most people would have ignored it, the noise. They would have turned over and gone back to sleep. "I'm not most people." She smiled, but it was sad. "No, you're not." After that night, something shifted. She started opening up, just a little, telling me small pieces of her story. She was a graphic designer, worked from home, didn't like crowds, had lived in 7 different cities before settling here. She liked her coffee black, her music old, and her conversations honest. "I don't do small talk," she told me once. "If you're going to waste my time, at least make it interesting." I liked that about her. She didn't pretend, didn't perform. She just was. And slowly I realized I was looking forward to seeing her, to the moments when our paths would cross in the hallway, to the late-night conversations that started with a knock on the door and ended with the sun coming up. One Friday night, she invited me over for dinner. "I'm not a great cook," she warned, "but I make a decent pasta." Her apartment was warm that night. Candles on the table, music playing softly in the background. She'd put on a dress, dark green, simple, beautiful. She looked different, softer. We talked for hours, about everything, about nothing. She told me about her childhood, moving around constantly because her father was in the military, never having a place that felt like home, learning to be alone because it was easier than learning to stay. I told her about my marriage, about how it fell apart slowly, then all at once, about how I didn't recognize myself anymore in the person I'd become. "Do you miss her?" Vera asked. I thought about it. I miss the idea of her, the person I thought she was, but no, not really. She nodded, like she understood. "I don't think I've ever been in love," she said quietly. "Not real love. I've been in relationships, I've said the words, but I've never felt safe enough to mean them." "Why not?" She looked down at her wine glass, swirling it slowly. "Because people leave. They always do. And I've learned it's better to leave first." The weeks turned into months. We fell into a rhythm. Morning coffee on the stairs, late-night conversations in her apartment, walks through the city when neither of us could sleep. We'd wander through empty streets, talking about books and movies and the small, strange beauty of being alive. I started noticing things about her I hadn't seen before. The way she'd tuck her hair behind her ear when she was nervous. The way she'd pause before answering a question, like she was choosing her words carefully. The way she'd look at me sometimes, like she wanted to say something but couldn't. And I knew I was falling for her. But I didn't say it, because I could feel her pulling away whenever we got too close, whenever the conversation drifted toward anything real. She'd make a joke, change the subject, build the wall back up. Then, one night, everything changed. It was late. We were in her apartment, sitting on the floor with our backs against the couch, listening to Billie Holiday and drinking cheap wine. She was quiet, quieter than usual. "What are you thinking about?" I asked. She didn't answer right away. Then she turned to me, and I saw something in her eyes I hadn't seen before. Fear. "I need to show you something," she said. She stood up slowly, walked to her bedroom, and came back with a small wooden box. She sat down beside me, opened it, and pulled out a stack of letters. "These are from my ex-boyfriends, all of them." I looked at her, confused. She handed me one. "Read it." I unfolded the letter. It was dated 3 years ago. "Vera, I can't do this anymore. I tried, I really did, but you make it impossible to love you. You push me away every time I get close. I'm tired of fighting for someone who doesn't want to be fought for. I'm sorry, I have to go." I looked up at her. "Vera." "Read the next one." I did. They were all the same. Different men, different handwriting, same message. You're too closed off. You don't let me in. I can't love someone who won't let herself be loved. I'm leaving. She took the letters from my hands and put them back in the box. Then she looked at me, and I saw tears in her eyes. She leaned in close, so close I could feel her breath on my skin, and she whispered, "No man ever stays." Her voice cracked. "And now I'm going to show you why." She stood up and walked to the window. Slowly, she pushed up her sleeve of her sweater, and I saw them. Scars, old ones, running up her forearm like a map of all the times she'd tried to make the pain stop. "I was 17, she said quietly. My mom had just died. My dad didn't know how to talk to me anymore. I felt invisible, so I made myself visible in the only way I knew how." She pulled her sleeve back down. "I haven't done it in years, but the scars don't go away. And every man I've ever been with, when they see them, they look at me differently, like I'm broken, like I'm too much work, like I'm not worth staying for." She turned to face me, tears streaming down her face. "So they leave, and I don't blame them, because I wouldn't stay either." I stood up slowly, walked over to her, and I did something I'd never done before. I took her hand. I pushed up her sleeve gently, and I kissed every single scar, one by one. She was crying. I was crying. "You're not broken," I whispered. "You're just human, and that's enough." But even after that night, she still kept her distance. She'd text me less, cancel plans, avoid me in the hallway. I knew what she was doing. She was testing me, waiting for me to give up, proving to herself that she was right, that no one stays. And I had a choice to make. One night, I couldn't take it anymore. I went to her apartment and knocked on the door. She opened it slowly, looking exhausted. "Why are you doing this?" I asked. "Doing what?" "Pushing me away, testing me, waiting for me to give up." She looked down. "Because you will, eventually." "No, I won't." She laughed bitterly. "You don't know that." "Yes, I do." I stepped closer. "I know what it's like to be left. I know what it's like to feel like you're not enough, like you're too much, like you're impossible to love. But I also know that you're not any of those things. You're just scared, and that's okay. But you don't get to decide for me whether I stay or go." She was crying now. "I'm staying," I said, "not because I'm trying to fix you, not because I think you need saving, but because I choose you every day, even on the hard days, especially on the hard days." She looked up at me, searching my face for a lie, but there wasn't one. And then she kissed me.
Slow, desperate, like she was drowning and I was air. We stood there in her doorway, holding each other like we were afraid to let go. "I'm terrified," she whispered. "Me too. What if I mess this up? Then we'll mess it up together." That was 8 months ago. We're still together. It's not perfect. She still has bad days, days where she pulls away, where the walls go back up, where she needs space, and I let her have it. Because love isn't about forcing someone to be okay. It's about staying, even when they're not. And she's learned to let me in, slowly, carefully, one scar at a time. We still live in separate apartments, but most nights she falls asleep in mine, or I fall asleep in hers. And when I wake up, she's still there. And that's enough. I think about that night a lot, when she whispered, "No man ever stays," when she showed me her scars, when she expected me to leave. And I think about the moment I realized I wouldn't, not because I'm a hero, not because I'm special, but because she's worth staying for. And maybe, just maybe, that's what love is. Choosing someone, even when it's hard, even when they make it hard, even when every instinct tells you to protect yourself. You choose them anyway. If you liked this video, don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe to the channel. Thanks.